We're now back on Ms. Vaughn's original motion as amended. Is there further discussion? If not, let's go to the board. The motion is approved, 5 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 abstention. It's adopted. Ms. Vaughn?
I'd like to hear from other members of council about their thoughts on what this investigation or review should include.
Further discussion, Mr. Pope?
It goes back to what our resolution was in February, in that we are looking at a possible low morale of the police department. I think it's been clearly stated by all the people that have come before us that there are both sides of that story, and we need to look at that. We also need to look at the turnover rate. There's a lot of parameters in which the turnover rate can be set. Is that appropriate for our police department and our size police force? Is the turnover rate high? Is it low? Have we determined that based on other police departments of similar size or similar personnel within the state or outside the state? I think those are areas that we need to look at and see what those are. As far as administrative policies, I think we've answered that at this point. We want to look at all administrative policies.
Mr. Callison?
I agree with Mr. Hope. I think the resolution was very clear. It provides a very broad scope as to what affects morale, what affects turnover rates. I believe that a reviewer, investigator, whatever you would like to use as the term, has very broad scope to look at the issues in the police department and come back to us with a very honest, independent review of what they found.
Further comments? Are there further motions to be made regarding our first agenda item? If not, we'll move on. Next item of business, Madam Clerk.
A resolution accepting a proposal, from the Municipal Technical Advisory Service for a review of the Oak Ridge Police Department with a particular focus on turnover, morale, and administrative policies. Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion, Mr. Hensley?
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Hope?
We've all received several emails with possible proposals from other investigative teams and looked at that, but we have not yet vetted anything else. Is that something that we as a council should look at before we decide to make the decision, like with INTAST, with or without INTAST? I think there's been several that we've gotten. I've talked to a couple of them via email back and asking for further information. I've been provided information. I don't know what the rest of you all have done as far as any of that goes, but I know of at least 3 different entities that have contacted us as a city council that has put forth a proposal. We got one very late this afternoon from another individual. I did not have time to go through that and vet that process, but it is something for us to look at. Once we now have established and set the resolution and what we're asking for that, is it something that we should vet out to look at that? I know that if the other professional investigative companies that have come forth. There would be a cost associated with that. One in particular, the Hunter Investigation Group laid that out in really plain terms, how many hours of this type of investigation would take, the hourly rate. That's something that we should all look at. Just asking.
Mr. Callis.
Oh, I'm sorry, I took myself out of the queue.
Okay. Ms. Vaughn.
Yes, I think we absolutely should go about this in a manner that is fair. The only fair way to do this is to solicit proposals. I'm not really clear on how we've already reached some sort of preliminary conclusion about MTAS and Mr. Barton. The document from Ms. Norris says the City of Oak Ridge has requested a proposal for a limited review of the police department. Limited is the opposite of broad, the term that you used when we decided to go down that path, Mr. Callison. I'd also ask, who in the City of Oak Ridge requested a proposal from MTAS? Because this council did not agree to request a proposal from MTAS in the first place.
Mr. Callison.
I asked for a proposal from MTAS along with everyone else that we were receiving proposals from. A number of them are also included in your package. Because MTAS supports the city and they are funded from funds that are collected across the state, it was a no-cost opportunity to have someone come in and look at it. We also were able to find out a little bit about Mr. Barton, his background, his 50, the more I keep saying it, 50 because it's a pretty phenomenal number when you think about it. Reviews that he has done on all sizes of cities for all kinds of issues. So I provided that, I proposed it to the council, and that's how we got to this point. And in the meantime, as we have received other proposals from other entities, those have been included in this package at the same time. I quite frankly myself was quite impressed with both his background and his approach to doing the work. And he actually provided a very decent proposal. A couple of people, we actually went back to a couple times to ask them to further define their proposal. One of the people came in, one of the consultants that's in here, came in and told us that he would do the work, but he failed to include any prices with it. So we went back and asked him about that. So it's been an ongoing process. That's where we are.
Ms. Smith.
I've seen MTAS as really the default choice for doing this kind of review. They're funded not by dues from us, but by the taxes of the state of Tennessee to provide independent, non-judgmental assistance to municipalities across the state in the business of city government. MTAS has a staff member with law enforcement experience, both on the staff level and administrative level, and close to 2 decades, I think, of experience consulting to Tennessee municipalities on issues of police management. So with the management perspective and the boots on the ground perspective in law enforcement, this is an individual who can understand the perspectives of the across the department, and has worked with similar groups. That to me is impressive. Mr. Barton, the individual with MTAS that has been identified as the person who could do the work, isn't able to be here tonight. He was able to come the last time we were going to discuss this, but I understand he's got a personal situation now. I talked with him by phone and asked a number of questions about how he would undertake this kind of investigation, and particularly how he would deal with the concerns that I know are strongly felt by some of our police personnel about confidentiality of the review. And I was impressed that he brought up confidentiality before I could really ask the question. Because this is something that comes up frequently, apparently, in dealing with people in the law enforcement field, that they are very concerned about the potential for retaliation. and they want strong assurance that anything they say in a review such as this one is going to be held completely confidential. And the fact that Mr. Barton knew that and anticipated the question was an indication that this is the right sort of person for the job that we have. AMTAS would do the work for free, which is something that we would not get from some of these other folks who have offered their services as consultants. They can do it more quickly than any of the other entities that have been suggested, because we would not have to go through any kind of contractual process. And frankly, I think speed is really important right now. We've lost a lot of time from snow and so forth. We need to move forward to get some closure for the police personnel who've expressed concern about their working conditions. They want to tell somebody the story about the concerns. All of us want to move forward and resolve those concerns. So I see this as the default choice for us. I also was very impressed that Mr. Barton indicated that when he has done these kinds of reviews in the past, one of the first things he does before he talks to police personnel is give them references they can contact to verify that he's not going to mess up, that he will keep their communications in confidence. And to me, that's hugely important. So I think we have a winning proposition in the proposal from MTAS, and I strongly support it.
Ms. Bowman, yes.
Mr. Callison brought Mr. Barton's name to the February meeting before we ever decided on an investigation. He then submitted on Friday before the Monday of a meeting a proposal that we go ahead and select him. The zeal with which you all are advocating for Mr. Barton is disturbing. It doesn't indicate anything in terms of objectivity or an intent or desire to truly be fair about a selection process. What you're doing is indicating that you've pre-selected, before this council had a chance to review any and all options, who you want to do the investigation, which really reeks of a desire to control the outcome. I think it's highly inappropriate, if not illegal, for you, Mr. Callison, to have represented the city of Oak Ridge to impasse. The city of Oak Ridge did not approve solicitation of a proposal. We've yet to do that. We're supposed to be going through the process of establishing the scope of the investigation tonight so that we could somehow have a basis for moving forward with selecting someone. So this is definitely pre-selection. As for the emphasis on MTAS being free, like my dad's always told me, A, nothing's free. And B, anything that someone says is free comes with strings. But money's not really an issue. The city's flush with cash. In 2013, we found $14,000 extra to give the city manager a raise that was not budgeted for. We've been praising Kroger for bringing in an extra $1 million a year. We did not budget the $50,000. We budgeted it, but we've not allocated it for the Secret City Festival out of the city coffers. We just spent $300,000 on some bathrooms. We allocated $1 million from city reserves for a mall project that were not budgeted. We did that back in September. And we have over $300,000 in red light camera funds, which are by resolution to be used for safety issues. I would say that this matter certainly meets that criteria much better than some of our past uses of that money, like parking lots and paint. And it's just very, very disturbing that we're up here placing a emphasis on doing something free versus doing something right.
Mr. Chen.
Yeah, just a clarification for the city manager and maybe Mr. Callison. How were these proposals received? Was an official RFP put out to ask for proposals?
Mr. Chen, I've not been involved with any kind of proposal. Any of you that have inquired about where do we find somebody, that's a reason I think in your packet there's a magazine that those are the people that are involved with public safety, so you can see what's out there. I've had really very little communication with regards to this issue. I think initially there were some questions as to MTAS availability. That inquiry passed back to Mr. Callison, and he took it from there. And I think you've all been involved with training, so that's that's.
But it basically came in, all these proposals came in.
There's been no direction provided to our staff. This is a council investigation. It's your choice as to how to select and what directions to take. I think there was an immediacy passed in your original resolution, which talked about trying to get something resolved within 30 days. MTAS provides some of that immediacy as an organization. And as was earlier alluded to, there's a process if you're going out to get multiple proposals from a consultant to come in and to check that out. Although that can be an individual selection of a consultant.
Sure, but basically all of these proposals that came in were unsolicited by the city of Oak Ridge. Well, there may have been a request by the members of City Council to submit proposals.
You have one from a private eye in Rockwood, and that came in, and that's been included within your package.
Does that follow the precedent with the city that the City Council can ask for proposals? A member of City Council can go out and solicit proposals to come into the city of Oak Ridge?
I think that when you're dealing with the investigative powers of that you've invoked under city charter, that allows you to communicate in a meeting such as this to say, we'd like to go out for proposals, we would like to accept the MTAS proposal, we would like to hire the private eye from Rockwood to come up here, we'd like to...
So this is sort of an extenuating circumstance, it's not really the typical protocol.
An exception versus the rule, so I don't think this qualifies for the FBI to come in and investigate, and you're not going to see that type of activity looking at our morale and our turnover rate.
But because of the order of the charter that was invoked to have some sort of investigative authority, that's why the members of the City Council can go out and solicit others to bring in proposals to
I would
do
say
this work.
that's correct.
But not on other things. We couldn't go out and solicit someone to come in and change all the light bulbs or something like that. That's not...
You couldn't go out and hire an engineer or anything like that. We bring that back to the council for approval.
Right. Thank you.
Mr. Hensley.
Yeah, we're talking here about the police chief and the police, and they have a job to do in this community. They provide security to the community, and while we tie them up with this, in my opinion, unnecessary. Now, I agree we need a review. I support the review. I voted for it. But I don't want to spend another dollar, and I don't want to spend another minute that we don't have to. And we have probably the most readily available and qualified group that we could ever get to do this, provided by the state of Tennessee. And I personally have met Mr. Barton about 6 years ago at a TML meeting, and I asked him a question about red light cameras. He said, well, I don't have that answer, but I'll get it for you. And the next day he tracked me down with data on safety relative to red light cameras. He tracked me down and gave me this information very thoroughly, not an opinion about whether they were safe or not, but allowed me to draw my own conclusions. And so in my opinion, the guy is highly qualified and very professional from my personal experience. And I would like to move forward with this and let him get started on this so we can get through this.
Actually, the whole scenario is very simple. Those of us new members of the council attended an MTAS training session about our duties of the city council, the history of MTAS. Ms. Norris was our instructor. And from that, we understood that there were other resources available at a no cost to the city, no cost, direct cost, because obviously I cannot commit the city to anything. And we asked them to provide us with a proposal. How would they go about doing it? That's how we got the proposal. It was very simple. It was presented, it's been presented to the city council to to review and think about it. It's just one of many. If you want to take more time, which is really funny because everybody's crying that this is an immediate problem. We got to solve this problem today. Otherwise, the city's going to go down the toilet. You know, and here we are. Well, okay, let's agree on a review. Let's call for proposals. Let's review all the proposals. Let's take our time. Let's make it July by the time this thing finally gets done. You know, we could do that. That's fine. I guess, actually, I think the citizens would want to throw us off the city council because we're not doing our job. Anyway, so that's how the proposal came to be. It was nothing nefarious. I didn't feel like I was exceeding my what is the right word, duties or rights on a council member. So that's how we got the proposal, and that's it. And I met with Rex. He gave me his resume, and which we've shared with everybody else, and I felt that he was more than qualified to do this work for us in a very expedited manner. And as I said in my note when I submitted this thing, of all the alternatives I've heard discussed, I believe this approach meets our needs to provide an honest and transparent, which is what we want, review of the issues addressed in our resolution. And I'm forwarding along with the proposal of Rex's resume for your consideration during the March 9th council meeting. So I submitted it to you for your consideration. And that's how we got to this point. You know, I'm a businessman. I'm in the job of getting things done, making a decision and moving forward. And I believe that that's one of the things that the council needs to do, and that's what we were elected to do this time when 4 new members joined the council, was to move forward, improve the city, increase the number of people who want to live here, and make it a better place.
Ms. Smith.
Yeah, I personally am grateful to Councilman Callison for having taken the initiative of contacting the Municipal Technical Advisory Service before our February meeting to identify the resources that were available through that state-funded organization. I think that that was very helpful before we voted on that resolution, to know that this kind of review capacity existed and was available to us with the kinds of qualifications that he found out about. I also appreciate the fact that he followed through and drafted a resolution to allow us to consider that. You know, that initiative was very important. We don't have any precedent for how we go about conducting a review, investigation, whatever it is. And since council has to take the lead, it does require individual council members to take this kind of initiative. I really appreciate Mr. Callison for doing that, and I think that we have a good proposition here. The fact that this can be done in a timely fashion is hugely important as far as I'm concerned. We've all heard from police personnel about the concerns that they have about the environment in which they're working. And rather than let those concerns fester, I'd like to move forward and have somebody come and allow police personnel to tell their stories in confidence. That's what we're talking about tonight.
Ms. Vaughn.
One of the greatest concerns expressed by a number of individuals in our February meeting was the integrity by which we go about this entire process. And I believe that by pre-selecting someone, we've ignored those concerns. And I think that the phrase "moving forward" is used by a number of politicos and entrenched within the government mentality. And I don't believe that if we move forward with selecting someone before we've done our due diligence to have an open process to the public, that is by any means a real true move forward. With that said, I do have one question about the contents of the letter from Ms. Norris. She states that the review may include interviews with community leaders not directly employed by the city. And I wonder what the logic is for doing that and how that would benefit and how that would not skew the outcome of the investigation.
Ms. Norris is here. She might want to answer that question.
respond to Ms. Bond's question, please.
Yes, actually, Mr. Barton is the one that prepared the proposal. I believe, if I had to second guess what he was going for on that one, was that there were folks that were no longer with the city that you thought would be some valuable input, so I believe that was the intention with that clause.
So he could interview our former mayor or our BOE member, or it's kind of a very ambiguous term that's used in this with community leaders. That's the best explanation you've got for why that would benefit this investigation?
I'm sorry, Mr. Barton had a death in the family. He couldn't be here. I wish he could answer that for you.
Thank you.
Mr. Abel.
My name is Chuck Agel. I live at 101 West Melbourne Road. The Municipal Technical Advisory Service, MTAS, is located at the University of Tennessee as part of their Institute for Public Service. MTAS is funded by the state of Tennessee for the sole purpose of advising municipal governments on a variety of issues, including finance, personnel, legal, public safety, municipal management, and others. They host a copy of our charter online as an example to follow, and they provide a history of modifications to it. I would like to read to you their mission statement from their website, Serving Tennessee's Municipalities. If you are an official of a Tennessee town or city, MTAS is your resource. Established in 1949 by the Tennessee General Assembly, MTAS provides technical advice to cities and towns across the state. Their governing bodies, mayors, city managers, city recorders, and city department heads. MTAS provides this assistance with consultants who specialize in most areas of municipal operations. MTAS annually completes more than 1,000 major municipal management projects and provides an average of 6,000 other services each year. I was elected to the last Charter Commission and became the chairman. That Charter Commission had the opportunity to work extensively with representatives from MTAS on potential revisions to the city charter. I found them to be helpful, explaining not only what the best practices are, but why. We had 8 charter amendments on the ballot. They were all approved with vote results ranging from 67 to 92%. No other group has helped craft a ballot proposal that has passed with 92% of the vote. They are a very high-quality organization. I want to thank Rick Chin because he was chairman of the previous Charter Commission, and his advice to me was some of the best advice I've ever